Donald Trump says he has decided to hold off bombing Iran's power plants for another 10 days and that talks with Iran are ongoing. The deadline for the 5-day pause in strikes was due to run out tomorrow night, but a short time ago, the president said he was extending that pause until April the 6th. The move came shortly after US stock markets saw their biggest daily fall since the start of the war and oil prices rose again, as investors worried about when the almost month-long conflict might end. Here's our chief North America correspondent, Gary O'Donoghue.
As these latest pictures from the Pentagon show, there's no let-up in the military action in this war, even if all the talk for the past 3 days has been about back-channel communications and possible peace deals. While the president has repeatedly talked about talks, the White House has been silent about exactly what kind of peace deal is on the table, finally confirming a 15-point plan. They're begging for a deal, said the president, and if they don't agree, it will be their worst nightmare.
But they said yesterday that we weren't negotiating with them, and now they admit that we were negotiating with them. So they want to make a deal. The reason they want to make a deal is they have been just beat to.
But despite the tough talk, the president has again backed away from his second deadline to destroy Iran's energy infrastructure, writing in a post, "As per Iranian government request, please let this statement serve to represent that I am pausing the period of energy plant destruction by 10 days to Monday, April the 6th, 2026 at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Talks are ongoing and, despite erroneous statements to the contrary by the fake news media and others, they are going very well." Today's cabinet meeting also confirmed Pakistan's central role in trying to get the two sides together, though the president once again had harsh words for his NATO allies like the UK, who he erroneously claimed had promised an aircraft carrier to help police the Gulf.
We had the UK say that we'll send, this is 3 weeks ago, we'll send our aircraft carriers, which aren't the best aircraft carriers, by the way. They're toys compared to what we have. But we'll send our aircraft carrier when the war is over. I said, oh, that's wonderful. Thank you very much. Don't bother. We don't need it. And we don't need it, and we don't need them.
27 days into this war, and Iran is still managing to respond to some military degree, and its regime remains intact despite dozens of high-level assassinations. And it has remained defiant about agreeing to American demands. Even the key US negotiator was sketchy in the way he described the talks.
I can say this, we will see where things lead, and if we can convince Iran that this is the inflection point with no good alternatives for them, other than more death and destruction.
Israel too continues to feel the brunt of Iran's retaliation. And this talk of talks could prove difficult for Benjamin Netanyahu, whose war aims may not entirely coincide with his biggest ally in Washington.
Sophie, I think there's two things that I would point out from today. First of all, the president had a 48-hour deadline last Saturday. That became a 5-day deadline on Monday, and today it's a 10-day deadline. 3 separate deadlines in the space of 5 days. The world is going to stop believing in these deadlines. And secondly, when you listen to the words from the negotiators, an action list leading to a possible framework for a possible peace deal, that doesn't sound like we're anywhere near crossing I's and dotting T's. This war is going on for some time yet.
Gary O'Donoghue in Washington, thank you. Well, I'm joined now by James Landale, our diplomatic correspondent, and our economics editor, Faisal Islam. And let's first of all talk about the markets, Faisal, because we've seen that fall today. Real concern we're seeing? Is that what we're seeing among investors, just about how long this conflict could now go on?
Yeah, there's a couple of things going on here. The markets are definitely very nervy, whether that's for government debt, whether it's for energy, whether it's in the stock markets now too. And obviously, as Gary has been pointing out, it's the underlying issue, the attacks on energy infrastructure that will have a long-lasting effect, even if everything ended tomorrow. But I also think just trying to anticipate what exactly is happening, what any of this actually means day to day. Is this a de-escalation? Would seem so, you'd think, but actually maybe it's not. Maybe it's a feint and things are going to really escalate this weekend. No one seems to know. And on top of that, there's just the timing of these things. A lot of these interventions are made when markets are closed, and it's leading to nervousness in markets. They don't really know what to do. I'll give you an example. In the oil market today, we've got a chart to show you what happened on oil, and this is just today, and you can see the price of Brent crude, a barrel of oil, going up and up and up and up, and ended up. And then you see just there that dip. That is when President Trump's post came out. And then you almost see the markets think, well, and so it falls because they think, well, there's going to be less problems. And it goes straight back up again as people sort of anticipate the other thing. Seeing similar things in other markets. People don't know how to price things right now because we just don't quite understand what on earth is going on.
James, Landale, what do we read into this extension, this pause that the President has announced today? What impact could that have on the war?
Well, I think Gary was absolutely right. We should take this with a pinch of salt. Donald Trump's relationship with deadlines is, how can I put it, slightly fluid. The first thing it does, though, is it really buys him time. It buys him time for diplomacy, if that's what he wants to do. We do know that messages are being exchanged between both the US and Iran here through intermediaries. There's talk of a possible meeting in Pakistan at some stage. Yes, diplomatic expectations are very low, but Donald Trump insists he can call them talks, and they are going very well. But also remember, this potentially buys him time to assemble more military force. There is an amphibious group of US Marines on its way from Japan. There is a group of thousands of American paratroopers on their way from California. They will take a bit of time to come. But remember, this deadline only refers to US attacks on Iranian energy targets. So in other words, I think the likelihood is that we're just going to see a continuation of this war of attrition, continuing US and Israeli attacks. Remember, they killed a very senior Iranian naval commander overnight, the man who's in charge of restricting traffic through the Strait of Hormuz. And I think that's the key point. If this does go on for another 10 days, that means another 10 days of no traffic, largely no traffic through the Strait of Hormuz, and all of that damage to the global economy that Faisal was talking about.
James Landale, Faisal, thank you.